Burndown and tillage costs in conventional soybeans can run up to $30 an acre. That figure often is more than the cost of cover crop seed, according to Dr. Trent Roberts, Associate Professor with the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture. Roberts discussed those cost findings in a presentation for the University Virtual Field Rice and Soybean Field Day.
The next thing that I want to talk about is partial returns or profitability. So when we talk about profitability of soybeans, we often refer to it as a partial returns type of an analysis where we're looking at variable input costs. So if you think about the different crop rotations or cover crops that we're implementing across this study, we're going to have different seeding costs, we're going to have different tillage costs, we're going to have different herbicide burn down costs for the cover crops. And so what we wanted to do is try to capture all of that in our partial return analysis. So if you think about some of the differences that we're going to see, let's first start with the fallow. So with the fallow treatment, we obviously have full tillage, but we're only going to have a single burn down for any winter weeds that may occur. But one difference about that fallow treatment is we don't have any winter cover crop seed cost. Now, if we shift over to a generic cover crop type treatment, you have to understand that we're taking tillage out of that rotation, because when we implement cover crops, we can only truly realize their full benefit when we also implement no-till practices at the same time. And so when you think about that, yes, we're adding the cost of cover crop seed to that production system, but we're also removing tillage from the equation. And one thing that we've found is that in a traditional soybean production system with full tillage, the cost of that tillage, the labor, the fuel associated with it, can equate to about $30 per acre. And that's a very significant cost that will oftentimes more than pay for cover crop seed, planting, and at least a part of the termination cost. So those are some differences in that system. When we move over to the wheat double crop system, there's a significant amount of cost input or change there, because we have the wheat for grain seed, which is typically higher than a cover crop seed. We're going to have in-season herbicide weed control for the wheat crop. We're going to have additional fertilizers for the wheat crop. And then we're going to have an added planting pass and some other things there. But we also have the revenue from the wheat crop to help offset some of those increased input costs. So when we start talking about partial returns from all these production systems, the one thing that we found is that our highest partial returns were seen from the majority of our cover crop treatments, but they were also very high in our wheat double crop system. And so there were no statistical differences in the partial returns of our double crop system compared to some of our higher yielding cover crop treatments. And so the message that I'm trying to relay there is that a wheat soybean double crop system can be profitable, right? You will lose yield in your soybean due to the late planting, but oftentimes the value of the wheat crop that we can grow in the interim will make up for any potential yield loss that we see in the soybean. I will kind of preface this by saying the soybean and wheat crop values that we used in our partial return analysis was the last 10-year average. And so we felt like that was a good number to use to capture potential fluctuations or changes in those commodity values over time.